morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well, and we are as excited as you all are to kick off the session. A big thank you for joining us on a Sunday morning. It speaks volumes about your dedication to learning and growing your career. For those who don't know me, I am Khyati Mehta, a passionate Salesforce advocate, community leader, and founder of WIT Trimming. I am working as a global lead talent initiator of Salesforce at SmartBridge. I've had the privilege of mentoring and teaching hundreds of learners through multiple initiatives, especially focusing on empowering underrepresented groups, including women, students, and career switchers. I believe Salesforce isn't just a career path, it's a community and a life changing opportunity. And I'm thrilled to be a part of your journey. Now, let me introduce someone very special who's joined us today, Piyusha Pelania. Piyusha is a rising star in the Salesforce ecosystem and a true example of how dedication and a learner's mindset can create magic. She's a certified Salesforce professional who successfully transitioned herself and has been inspiring countless individuals through her content, community involvement, and mentoring. She's here to share her story and provide insights that are incredibly valuable for anyone starting out. So, with that, let's dive right in. Piyusha, we are very happy to have you, and I'm equally sure that everyone's here eager to listen to you.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for inviting me and for the lovely introduction. I'm really excited to be here as well and have this conversation with you, and hopefully our conversation can help someone who is joining us today.
Wonderful. So, Piyusha, to start off, can you briefly share your Salesforce journey and how you got started?
So, my journey to Salesforce ecosystem is really interesting. I used to be a sales and marketing person, and in 2020, I moved back to India after my master's, and I had a job offer, which all of a sudden was canceled because of COVID, because the company decided that they're not going to hire any new people. And I was like, wow. And up until that point, I was involved in e-commerce and sales and marketing. And then from that moment, I felt like, wow, I spent so much money and now I don't even have a job. And it was COVID, and I was so scared. I was like, what am I going to do now? So I frantically started applying everywhere, and then people were like, no, okay. So it was a very difficult time. And then eventually I got a job as a sales and marketing person with a Salesforce partner, Affians. And at that point in time, I was not even aware of what Salesforce is. And I was like, okay, maybe I can learn it. And so I started working in that role. My primary job was to actually market what we were selling, like that is implementation services, and obviously connect with the customers. If I don't know the product I'm marketing or I'm selling, how am I supposed to connect with people? So my initial conversations were more like, the customers will come on the call, they'll talk about something, whatever their issues are, and I'll be totally blank, and I'll look at the technical team like, hey, can you help me understand what we can do here? And it was a very disconnected experience. So eventually, after like the first month, I realized like I have to learn this platform, otherwise I'll not be able to work in this role. And then I started learning through Trailhead. I reached out to a few people, and they were super helpful in pointing me towards the right direction as to where I should start. And it was just like something which sparked in me, because up until that point, as I mentioned, I was working in e-commerce, sales and marketing, and nobody really helped me to learn things, because there people are like very competitive. But in Salesforce ecosystem, it was very different, because people were helping me genuinely rather than actually just saying, hey, oh no, I can't do that. It was like, yeah, here are the resources. They can actually help you get started. And I was like, wow, total strangers on internet are helping me. And from there, I started learning Salesforce, and it just like changed the entire narrative for me. So instead of being a sales and marketing person, I then became a pre-sales consultant. Then I started working on our marketing cloud accounts, and then eventually I became the Salesforce consulting manager at Horizontal Digital. So now I lead an entire Salesforce team in our Vadodara office. So from someone who knew nothing about Salesforce 5 years ago to here I am.
I mean, wow, that's such an inspiring journey. And I still remember we vividly connected when you were a part of a Salesforce partner and you were trying to figure out, I mean, what's happening with the platform. And I believe we connected for a marketing strategy situation for the company and the group that I am having. So, I mean, I still remember the talk we used to have on how to get started, what the platform is. I mean, why are you doing all of these? I mean, the questions you had and the learner's mindset you have is something that is really important for you, for all of you to, I mean, get started with the platform. So, wow, I mean, that is very inspiring. And, now that you're working in this ecosystem, um, what exactly motivated you to choose your path? Be it a Salesforce consultant as you are, I mean, you must be having a lot of confusions when you joined, and there are a lot of paths in Salesforce, I mean, for everyone to get started with. So, what motivated or how did you find your path?
Actually, every path is for a set of skill sets. First of all, what I feel is you need to figure out like what your skill sets are, and based on that, it actually automatically navigates you to find your path. Because I am a person who likes to connect with people, who likes to talk, who likes to understand like okay what's going on rather than just sharing my thoughts. I like to just have a conversation with people just to understand like what's going on and things like that, and that kind of helped me translate into this consultant role, because as a consultant your primary job is to have a conversation with the client, understand what their problems are, and then translating those into meaningful solutions for your team. So if I'm not able to understand the client's problems, I will definitely not be able to pass it on to the team for them to be able to work on it. And for example, as a developer, you need to have a very logical mindset to actually, fix things with code. You need to understand, okay, how much amount of code I need versus like what I can do just by clicks. As an admin, you're working to serve the team. So you need to figure out like, okay, which team works in which way and all of those things. So actually, the very first thing is you need to understand what your strengths are and how you can translate them into these different Salesforce roles, because architects have a very different mindset. A consultant will have a different set of skill sets. So everyone works together to actually form this team of perfect bunch where you will be delivering like these beautiful and awesome solutions to your clients.
I totally agree with you. I believe the number of paths that Salesforce has offered in a manner that you should know what you really like, and based on which you're free to choose a path for yourself, and that would relate to you, so that you can give your best at whatever career path you choose. I mean, that
Absolutely.
sounds
And
that
on that note, actually, so there's a Heroku quiz, which is actually a Salesforce official quiz to actually which helps you understand what career path will be most suitable to you. I will try to find it and will share it in the comments probably towards the end. I should have kept the link with me handy, but like there's a link which is on Trailhead as well, and you can go through it, and you just have to answer questions about your emotional intelligence, about your strengths, and Salesforce would actually give you proper chart of like what you should do and how you can get started on that journey.
beautiful. I mean, that's a perfect insight for all of our learners to get started with their career paths. Moving on, I mean, now that you're working in this ecosystem, the important skills. Be it a career switcher like you, or even a fresher like you. I mean, you're both somewhere. So, what are the most important skills you think one should focus on when they build their foundation on Salesforce?
Um, there are like a bunch of things. And the first one, which I will get you started on, is not just the technical skills, but your soft skills, skills like communication. Because in Salesforce roles, majority of the roles are involved, like are in a way designed in a way that you're closely working with the clients, you are working with your internal teams. So communication is like the very first thing which I want everyone to work on, because without communication skills it'll be very challenging for you to work in a team environment, because you cannot like work as an individual. All of this like delays projects and derail stuff as well. So understand the value of communication, and that too empathetic communication, because a lot of time as Indians, either like if I'm stuck somewhere, I'll probably try to solve it all on my own, and I'll not share it with my team, and I'll be like, okay, let me just try to spend 1 more hour, and then a day goes by and you're still stuck there and you're not sharing it with anyone because you lack that specific skill, because nobody taught you that. So communication is something which you need to learn. If you're communicating well enough, somebody might be able to help you with that particular problem. And instead of getting stuck at that particular problem for an entire day, and you're sharing that in the next day's scrum call, what you can do is you can share that immediately with your team members after maybe an hour of trying to solve it yourself, that hey, this is a problem I have, and just unblock yourself. All of these things actually matters. And then when I said empathetic communication, I have seen like people just shifting blames on each other rather than thinking, okay, this is something which you did and that's why I'm not able to do it. Like, think about why this happened, and rather than shifting blames, just try to figure out a way to solve it. Which kind of reminds me of the next skill, which I feel is everyone needs, a problem solving skill. um, Problem solving is not just like, hey, I know a problem and I can just solve it. And majority of the time, we just come across a problem rather than finding a solution. Most of the people figure out why this happened, who did it, and that's what I see like all the time, which is not the right way, because you can figure out who did it and why it happened to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. But the first thing which should come to your mind is, okay, it is like this. How can I solve it? How can I make it better for everyone? And before we move on to technical bit, there's one more thing which I feel like everyone in the Salesforce ecosystem needs, and that's a consultative approach. Because whether you're a consultant or not, even if you're just a solo admin in your organization, you will get requests like, hey, can you create this new object? Can you create a new field for me? Or maybe an automation or a new report. What you need to do is you need to have a consultant mindset. Even for developers, like you need to have that mindset. The reason behind that is consultative approach is what you're going to make your life so much easier. As a solo admin, getting all of these requests, what you have to understand is it just one person's, is it just going to solve this one issue for a limited amount of duration? Or do I need to make this change for everyone? Because unless you understand what exactly the end user is going to use it for, how many people it is going to impact, you might just start messing up the org because you're just taking these requests in left and right. And this I have seen so often happening with people because they just take orders rather than using this consultative approach. And most of the time, as Asians, we are trained to actually follow orders rather than actually questioning that, hey, this is not right. We should improve it. And so that's why having that shift in our mindset takes time. So building your consultative mindset is something which everyone really needs. Once you have these soft skills in place, you can obviously not just like once you have these in place, simultaneously, you should also start learning Salesforce skills, because technical skills are really important as well. Soft skills are very good, but if you don't understand the technology, the platform, what is happening with data models, or what is happening with flows and all of these things, you are going to get stuck somewhere or the other. So, whatever role you're interested in focusing, try to understand the basics of the platform. You might not necessarily have to do that job yourself, but if you understand that, it will make your life so much easier because then you'll be able to understand it from the developer's point of view, from an admin's point of view, how they're going to maintain that once you build it, how they're going to actually build it, how the QA is going to test it, how the end user is going to use it. All of those different perspectives only comes into picture if you understand the technology very well.
I
So
mean, that's wonderful advices, and I totally believe with you that both of the skills have to go hand in hand. And over time, I have come to believe that success, whether it is in leadership, relationships, or even problem solving, comes down to all of the four C's that you just talked about: clarity, critical thinking, communication, and a consultative approach. You need to have all of these four together with you because it helps you to define the real issue. It helps you break it down, find smart solutions, brings people in as partners or customers, and it just helps you solve problems, build that trust, and get those real results.
yeah.
I mean, now we talked about how you can build a strong foundation. We talked about the paths. Let's obviously talk about the certification because that is something that a fresher mostly kind of bumps into and are not sure whether they should take it up or not. So they are often seen as a gateway for your Salesforce roles. So, I mean, what kind of certifications would you recommend for someone who's just starting out?
Mm. Okay. Um, so about certifications, even though I have like 10 of those myself now, but I still would like to say this. The very first thing which you need is, rather than these flashy certifications, is the actual understanding of the platform. Because recently, like when I came into this new role, I have actually interviewed a bunch of people for different roles. And more often than not, I have realized that people who have 20 certifications know very little. And some people who have like one or two certifications are like really amazing at what they do. They know in and out of the platform, but they don't have certifications. So having a certification or no certification to me like doesn't matter too much. What I have instead looking started looking at things is looking at their Trailhead account, because you'll be so surprised. Trailhead is a free platform to actually learn Salesforce stuff. And I have seen people who have 18 actually certifications, and that person had 5,000 points on Trailhead, which means he was only using Trailhead to just maintain his certifications, and he never used it to get trained on it. So my mind automatically went into that zone, like how actually you study for those certifications. So Trailhead is a very good way or a great starting point for everyone to get started. You can show your skill set there. You can show your skill set through modules, through different Trailhead ranks, through super badges. All those help articles listed there, they are like really amazing. So you can actually show a lot of your strengths from Trailhead and all of the modules you do from there, because there's a module where you can create your portfolio as well. So it kind of shows that you know that skill as well. You know how to create Experience Cloud website, you know how to build the backend as an admin and all of those details. And it actually matters because you cannot do super badges just by cramming something. You have to actually do hands-on stuff by understanding those challenges. And that's why these Trailhead modules and super badges are designed in a way to test people's knowledge. So rather than just having certifications, because I have seen a lot of people doing certifications using dumps, which is not a good way, because you
That's
need
an
to.
illegal word. You cannot say it here.
No, I understand, but this is like which is what I've seen. And a very important thing in your career is going to be the technology you're working on. It will stay with you forever, whatever things you're learning. So do not try to fast track your growth just by like bypassing things and getting something which other people are getting as well. Stay focused, stay calm, start learning small on trailhead, start just working on building those points by covering more modules, more super badges. Eventually, you will reach a point where you can start working on your certifications. And to start with certification, associate certification is the first one as a fresher. You can start with. Back in the day, the admin used to be a starting point, but now they have associate certifications. If you're an intern or a fresher, that's a really good starting point because that actually helps you cover all of your bases. And then you can move on to the admin certification. But these two certifications are the ones which I would recommend for everyone. Even if you want to go in on the designing side or on the developer side or architect or whichever way you want to move forward in your career, having the admin certification will actually build a base for you because that the trails for admin certification, the super badges, all of those, they cover like a strong base across all the touch points of the core Salesforce platform.
I mean, I totally agree with you. Certification is always a cherry on the cake,
Mhm.
but it's not something that one should desire for, especially freshers or career switchers. I mean, the technology has to be very well known. And once you feel that you know it, and you can sit for a cert just to testify your knowledge, go ahead and do it. Because certification is just testing your knowledge and letting everyone know that you know that particular topic. So, I mean, go for it whenever you're ready. To not force yourself to do the certification because the world is doing. Okay, moving on. I mean, the questions I've been putting to you is designed in a manner where freshers usually think of those challenges running up to themselves. So one big challenge for freshers is obviously, I mean, I hear a lot of it from their mouth, is that the lack of real world experience. So they feel that there is a gap when we talk in the Salesforce technology world specifically. So, what suggestions do you have for them to gain the project experience before they land to their first jobs?
So there are a variety of ways you can actually gain real world experiences. When I started, everyone was giving advices that to gain real world experiences, you can actually volunteer with nonprofits. And that actually sounds like a perfect solution for people based in Europe or US, but it doesn't. I have never seen this working for people based in India because here very few nonprofits are working or using Salesforce. So there are like very limited opportunities. And even those who are working using Salesforce, they don't offer volunteer roles for um, such roles. And so the thing is, there used to be some really interesting bits as well, like Click. Click used to offer real project experiences to a lot of people, and that shut down as well. But that was like really amazing starting point. Now, what I'm seeing more and more is a lot of companies offering internships, and that's a really good way to get started on your journey. At Horizontal, we ourselves like hire about 15 interns every year, and we train them, and we then after they gain certain experience, they build like a project for themselves, and then we convert them to full time as well, because they already have that experience because we spend 4 months training them during the internship. So there are companies which are offering that. I know Gaurav also has started like a program for interns. So one shift which is run by Gaurav Kedirpal, he also runs certain internships. So there are like a lot of companies, especially the smaller Salesforce partners or mid-sized Salesforce partners, they are offering a lot of internships, which can be super helpful for you all to get started. A lot of these internships are for people who are like really freshers. Some internships are for people with career breaks as well. So there are plenty of opportunities. And then on top of that, Salesforce also offers like return to work programs where you can get do these internships and start working with Salesforce, not just with other partners. So there are a lot of companies with variety of different options. But in India, the best thing which you can do to gain some real world experiences to get your journey started as an intern. And that's what majority this is an area where a majority of the people I know or I have mentored have found a career for themselves by, you know, or through these internships.
I mean, that summarizes a lot of pointers, but just to add on that, to get started for freshers specifically, I mean, Trailhead is the platform for you for sure. You will get the project learning experience, just the starters to get started and to get you knowing about how the project works. There is a specific module called projects where you can get the learning started. But on, just to add again on the pointers that you said, we as a Smart Bridge in the company, we are the largest workforce development partner in India. And we do virtual internship programs. And I mean, we are the ones who started it. So for all of you listening about it, go ahead and Google about us and you'll get a lot of opportunities. And we have also now started a program wherein we guarantee you 3 interview opportunities for you to sit and kind of help you further. So if you're interested learning more about it, maybe just LinkedIn and me, or DM me, or I mean, you can reach out to me anywhere you want and I'll help you grow with. I mean, I agree to all of the pointers that you said, Piyusha, and I mean, I think that freshers are now encouraged a lot, at least the ones that are listening to us. But there are also a few pointers where they get discouraged as well. Starting with obviously with the Salesforce ecosystem being so vast, with all of the clouds, the different type of releases coming every year, it's overwhelming for a fresher to start learning, a Salesforce, and it's a lot for them. So, what are some common mistakes you have noticed that people make when they try to enter the Salesforce ecosystem?
Mhm. So, I have observed a few things, and the first one being, and I'll go back to the certification thing. I've seen a lot of people rush into certifications without understanding the concepts, and that actually impacts your prospects or your career progression as well. Because if somebody's interviewing you and you're claiming to have that certification and you're not able to answer questions around that, it's just not something I'm looking forward to. So that's like, okay, I interviewed this person, he doesn't know anything. And that's like something which I've added in the feedback as well. So people in my circle knows that this is what's happening. And then it impacts your career in a negative way. So understanding the concept before jumping into certifications is something which you should focus on. And then a really interesting bit is initially when you join Salesforce, a lot of people just ignore community. I have seen that happening more often than not. I'm such a huge fan of community because I feel like this is a place where you can just not only learn so many things, but you get support from the community. You learn from people's experiences. You find opportunities because you have the option to connect, network with people, and all of those things. So make sure that even though I understand as a fresher, you have so many things to do. You're just fresh out of college and you have this energy. You want to go out with your friend over the weekends. Nobody wants to study over the weekend because you just finished your college and you're in the zone of like getting ahead of yourself and, doing all these interesting things. But believe me, like you will appreciate the value of community once you get started on this journey. So try to balance like um these things, and then other than that I feel like start building on your communication skills, because a lot of the time people are very good at technical skills, which they need to obviously perform the job. Their communication skills are so poor, it actually essentially like overshadows their perfect work they're doing because they're not able to share their point across. They're not able to work with the client because they're not understanding what they're saying, or they're not able to communicate what they want to say. And those things actually take time to build. You can learn technical skills through a lot of sources, but to actually improve your communication skills, I used to be a shy person as well. I used to be the person who used to sit quietly and just try to like stay in the corner. And then I realized that that's not going to help me, because whatever work I'm doing, if I'm not able to share things about that, it's not going to work out for me. So start working on building your communication skills. Some people do it by communicating with more people. So maybe join once again, a community of people who you can communicate with, have a conversation with them. My English was not perfect 10 years ago as well, and I worked on it. I read books, I watched a lot of movies, TV series, and whatnot. Everyone has different ways of learning, so it's absolutely fine. The thing is, you need to work on your soft skills as well. So do not think that, okay, I know the platform and I don't care if I can speak um, in English, not just speaking, if I can communicate or if I can put my point across. Because communication is not just about speaking good English, it's also about bringing forth your point. It's also about sharing your ideas with other people. It's also about timely communication. So there are a lot of things associated with communication as well. And I will say, like, the top three things for me are these three.
I mean, that's so true. I agree with you. Communicating what you do is really, really important. And, that brings to our next question, and which is something very, very close to both of us, which is community involvement, obviously. Um, I mean, you already stated how important the community is, but to a fresher who's listening to us might not know where to start or how to start, and also what impact would that bring to their life. So we'd love to know how important has the networking and the community participation been in your career growth, and how did you actually get started with it?
So, community actually played a huge role in my career growth. As I mentioned, I reached out to a few strangers on LinkedIn and they were super helpful. And I noticed that they're actually doing a few things. And um, I was like, wow, this is really amazing. People are doing this for free and they're like helping people through this. And at that time, I myself started a Build Your Career in Salesforce series. And um, I think I had a session with Kathy as well back in 2021.
We have
Where
done a lot of things together for inviters.
so Kathy was a speaker for that session, and that was mostly like because I went through a journey of figuring out things initially on my own. That okay, how can I learn Salesforce? And then I was like, wow, there might be a lot of people who are like me who don't know how to do this. And so I started um, bringing forward these people who knew Salesforce ecosystem to the point that they can talk about it and tell people how they can get started on their journey. With so much happening in Salesforce, sometimes you get lost in all of this and you need a direction that, okay, hey, this is where you can get started. Because nowadays everyone's talking about AI, agentforce, data cloud, but still, let me tell you one thing very clearly. Admin is the thing where you need to get started. And this will only be like you will only know that if you talk to somebody. And to do that, community is the best place. So to get started on your community journey, the best part is you can be a part of one of the Trailblazer community groups in your local area. So Trailblazer community groups are these amazing groups run by leaders like Kathy and me. we're just like small drop of the bucket. There are like a lot of community group leaders who are actually volunteering to run these groups, and they organize these amazing events where you can go and learn something and connect with people. Majority of the events I've seen will have like um, a lot of mentors, a lot of recruiters. So every time I organize these events, I will see at least one to two HR people there as well. And so what I've started doing is I'll just ask them, hey, are you hiring for something? Please share the roles you're hiring for. Maybe somebody here might be interested in, interviewing for those roles. Who knows? Because people are always interested in moving forward to next opportunities, and that's a good way. So all of these community groups are really amazing, especially the in-person ones gives you the opportunity to connect with those people one-on-one. So that's a really good way. There are certain people on LinkedIn who you should follow to actually get a lot of updates, because there are a lot of releases and updates happening as well. And a lot of the community group leaders and popular faces in the ecosystem, they actually share these updates as to, okay, what happened in the latest release. So all of those features, I follow like certain people. For example, Nobuyuki Watanabe is one of those persons who I really like because his LinkedIn content is amazing. He will dissect each and everything in the marketing cloud releases. And rather than me going through hundreds of pages of documents, I can just look at his LinkedIn feed every day and I know, like, okay, I'm not missing out on anything because I know everything is there. So there are certain people who you can follow on LinkedIn as well. And a few more things which I want to add to this, because this is like my favorite topic and I can talk endlessly on this. So, being involved in the community and following people on LinkedIn is one thing. Every time you meet somebody, and this is what Gilda shares, like, she's like, every time I meet somebody, I get something out of that conversation and I connect it with that person. And the next time I'll meet them, I will remember that, and it helps me connect with people on a genuine level. So rather than going to somebody and flattering them, having those meaningful conversations are actually going to help you grow in your career. Because as you will move forward, you will realize that, okay, bored after a certain point in your role, or you're feeling like you're not getting the opportunity in your current role and you want to switch companies. Rather than directly applying, you'll probably reach out to one of your network. Hey, I saw something on LinkedIn from your company and I'm interested in applying for that. So that's a really good way for you to get started. So um, there are a variety of ways with which you can do that. Every time you connect with somebody, make sure you remember why you connected with them. So because next time you see them, it actually helps you connect with them on a much better level. And that's how you build your network. Just following people or connecting with people on LinkedIn is not your network, because if you don't know them and you're going to drop them a message next day, hey, I want to apply for this role, can you refer me? I'm not sure if you'll get a response. Whereas if you have connected with them at an event and you'll say, hey, that was really amazing, you did a good job, I want to connect with you, that would be a much better way for you to actually reach out to somebody and probably get a positive response out of that conversation. And besides that, even if you're just directly sending LinkedIn messages, I would recommend maybe like going through their feed, dropping a comment saying, hey, you're doing an amazing job, or they posted something and you really liked it. Just try to build a conversation, because this is something which a lot of people do. And personally, like if I'm getting 20 messages about a specific role, I don't know 18 of those people, but they're saying, hey, can you refer me? I'm not going to do that. Whereas the other two people put in efforts to actually build a relationship and have a conversation, I'm definitely going to actually respond to them. So this actually matters in every aspect. And I guess, Kathy, you can agree to this as well, that rather than approaching somebody directly, having a conversation to build up to that level is much better way.
Totally. I agree to this. I mean, networking and building that relationship is really important for you to foster that relationship. And it's not just one way, I feel. I mean, it's obviously two-way, making sure that that relationship is as important to you as anything in this world. And with Salesforce, that's the best part. I mean, you get the community, you get a lot of people from around the world who's ready to help you for free. They do not seek anything from you, and that is how Salesforce shows you how important networking is. And these people will be your go-to people, your family one day, and it would be a wonderful set of people that's been with you throughout your journey. And like I know Piyusha, I've been saying this from the start, that I know Piyusha from the very start, and it overwhelms me seeing you here today. I mean, I could have helped you in very little manner, whatever I could at that time, but it just overwhelms me seeing you here today, being such a wonderful, powerful woman leader, making sure that you just pave it around as well.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Piyusha. I mean, that has been wonderful, talk about the community and the importance of community. But let's touch upon the topics that freshers really are into, which is obviously interviews. I mean, that is one topic that they will hear it around. So, any tips on how freshers can stand out in the interviews or job applications, even without having those prior knowledge?
Mhm. So I will actually share a story before I get into the tips which can actually help you significantly. And back in 2023, I all of a sudden realized that I have not been working on super badges for some time now, and I want to do it. So I started like racking up super badges. At that time, we used to have admin superset, which they discontinued, I guess, last month. Um, and so at that particular point was like I was learning Salesforce to the point that I became, I guess, a 4-star ranger, and I posted about it on LinkedIn. And my current boss, he actually, I was connected with him on LinkedIn, and he noticed that. And after that, he dropped me a message saying, "Hey, congratulations on raking up the 4-star ranger rank. Here's a role in Varodra. Would you be interested in working with us?" And I was like, wow, I never even applied to that role. And it was so strange. And so from there, the conversation started. And then he invited me for a call. Um, to me, it was an interview, but it was not like from his point of view, it was just like a conversation to understand what I'm doing, what all things I know, what I'd be interested in doing moving forward, would I be a fit in the role he actually has had in mind, and all of those things actually. So we had this conversation, and eventually I landed the job. So that actually was a real life story where I was not even expecting that somebody will notice, or I was not even posting it with intention that somebody will notice and offer me a job, but it happened unknowingly. So the very first thing which I want all the freshers or people who are transitioning to actually focus on is A, start learning on Trailhead. Very, very important resources there. Do not ignore the help articles. And B, start talking about what you're learning there on LinkedIn, because you never know who might actually be interested in somebody with that specific skill set and offer you a job. Because that happened with me. I feel like it happens more often than you think, because it happened with a person I know as well. So it's not like it's a isolated story. So if you talk about maybe a certification, don't just say that, hey, I got the certification. Maybe talk about how you achieved that. What were the resources helpful to you? What you have learned through that experience. All of those things actually matters. Once,
You
like,
know, vouch for it. I mean, I have got the same opportunity like you have just mentioned. I posted a FSL series with one of the famous YouTube channels, and it was just sharing my knowledge. And I mean, nobody was talking, and still is not talking about FSL in the India community.
Mhm.
Someone just bumped into me stating that, you know, we have this offer for you in case you're interested, just let us know. And that was just out of randomly doing a series of, you know, playlist for someone else. So showing up the work or showing up the knowledge that you have, I totally vouch for it. It's really, really important for anyone to get started.
Absolutely. And the thing is, LinkedIn is your live resume. Everyone can go there and see what you're doing. So keep it polished, keep it active. A lot of the time I've seen people, they're like, oh, I don't know, what can I post there? There are n number of things you can talk about. If you're doing something new on Trailhead, talk about it. If you have completed a super batch, talk about it. But don't talk about it in a way to brag that, hey, I completed the super batch. Talk about it in a way that I completed the super batch and this is what I learned from it. If you have a feedback, maybe talk about it. This is something we can improve. Something like that, that actually helps.
Totally.
But
Find your niche rather than bragging about it.
yes, absolutely. And besides LinkedIn, what I feel could be super helpful is talk about the problems you solved, not just the features you're working on. So product features anyone can talk about, but talk about the problems. If not for, like, if you have a bit of experience, you might have worked on a project, talk about how you actually solved a certain issue. Or if you're just working on a hands-on project in Trailhead and you might come across a problem, talk about it, because those are the things which makes people understand that, okay, this is what you know. And when you're appearing for interviews, they actually helps you have a very good communication with the person. So, especially from a, and now I'm switching gears to interview because I've talked way too much about LinkedIn, I feel like. But when we talk about interviews, and that's something which I really like because I used to do that as well myself. I used to go through that person's LinkedIn profile, their interests, what they're doing, and all of those things. And every time I used to prepare for an interview, I used to have a conversation with them around their interests, not mine, because that always makes the other person really happy because you're talking about them, not about yourself. And as human beings, we're really like being like conversations revolving around us. So just go through their profiles, see what they're doing, appreciate them, and you will see the magic happening. Obviously, you need to know the context of the interview, otherwise that flattery is not going to work. But that's a good conversation starting point. And then even during the interview, having all the hands-on experience from your personal projects or your trailhead projects is always super helpful. So rather than just saying that I did an internship with this organization for 6 months, just talk about, I did an internship for 6 months. I learned this. These were the projects I was working on. The project actually started like this, and this is what we did there, and this was the end result. We were able to solve their issue by doing so and so, and this is how much time we saved for them. And all of those details actually are really important because all these in depth answers um, actually makes a huge difference. Because if I go somewhere and I'll be like, hey, I'm a Salesforce consulting manager, um, I lead a team of 20 people, and that's it. Nobody knows what I'm doing. But if I'll talk about, so I actually have worked on a really interesting project recently, which I really want to talk about before we move on to the next bit. That person will immediately be drawn to this conversation, like, okay, she actually wants to share something before we move on to the next question. So things like that actually plays a huge role. And I used to think about it from just a candidate's point of view, and now I'm on the other side of the table. I can see it like, okay, this is not I want to see in a person. So this is what I want to see them. doing. So a lot of the time, majority of the people will give like one or two line answers. Don't do that. If I'm asking a question, I'm putting in energy to draft those questions. Try to give in-depth answers so I understand where the conversation is going, whether you are a fit for that role or not, because all the questions your interviewees are drafting are going to be in a way that they understand the clear picture as to what is happening, how they how you will be able to perform the role, and all of those things.
I mean, those are great, great, great pointers. But just to add on top of it, I believe also, as I just mentioned, Salesforce is very vast and it is obviously difficult for anyone to learn everything in Salesforce. I mean, currently, I'm not an expert of everything that's there in Salesforce. I'm sure, Piyusha, you must not also be. We are learning every day. And you will also learn every day. So be open to learning and also just be true to yourself in the interviews as well. Do not brag about something that you do not know. It's okay to let them know that, this is something that I'm learning or I've just started learning, or even I don't know of it. Just be true to yourself and to the interviewer as well, because there has been a lot of energy that's been put on both of the sides, and bragging about anything would not help you get the job or be on the top. So always just be true to yourself. Okay, thank you. I mean, those are amazing pointers, and that brings us to something that will empower the freshers more. I mean, what would you say to someone who is still unsure if Salesforce is the right career for them?
Well, the very first thing is you can try it out yourself. Um, Trailhead is free, hands-on. I have seen a lot of people who are like way too much into coding. So Salesforce normally doesn't give you that opportunity to do everything by code, because Salesforce prefers to move towards a code free or zero coding kind of environment. They want majority of the things to be done by clicks, not codes. However, my suggestion is, if you're doing your graduation, why don't you get started with Trailhead and see if it works for you? If this is something which you want to do, because not everyone is an extrovert and wants to have a conversation with somebody. Some people are like really quiet coders and you might not enjoy being a part of it. Whereas for people who are not so much into coding, but they want to actually work things with clicks and code, maybe a bit of coding, not too much, maybe that's something which you want to do. There are hardcore Salesforce developers as well who do a lot of coding. There are like variety of options, as I said. So go through Trailhead, understand what you want to do, and also like talk to people in variety of different roles. Um, Once again, attend these community events. They are like the perfect place to have conversation with people from different roles. And once you have a good understanding, you'll be able to decide whether Salesforce is right for you or not. Because even if I say a few things, uh, you will not be able to figure it out in one go. So you have conversation with people in different roles, what they do, how they do it, and then what skills you need to perform that role. All of those things can actually help you make a decision for yourself as to what you can do and how you can do it.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you go ahead and try it yourself because there's nothing to lose, rather than not trying.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Piyusha. I mean, for sharing such thoughtful and relatable advices. I'm sure that all of our audiences is walking away today with a lot more clarity and confidence. And to all our attendees, thank you for spending your Saturday with us. Uh, Remember, your journey might look different from others, but what matters is that you start. So stay consistent, stay connected, and never stop learning, because Salesforce is not just a skill set, it's a community. And we are here to support you every step of the way. We wish you the very best in your Salesforce journey. So keep blazing your trails, and we'll see you soon in the ecosystem thriving just like us.